Rise and shine, it's election day. Got your coffee and your comfortable shoes? Remember to bring any medications and your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or whatever you agreed to bring if your team is doing potluck. Make sure your friends and family know your phone will be off and you cannot be reached on election day.
Yes, we absolutely mean the part about turning your phone off. No checking Facebook or using your email, even during breaks. Yeah, I know it's hard for some of us to go without our phones for a whole day, but if I can do it, you can do it.
Most of the day will be busy, but things might get slow towards the end of the day. If you bring reading material, make sure it's non-political. Stay away from magazines or newspapers because you never know what kind of ads might be inside. Crossword puzzles are usually a safe bet.
And no talking about politics. Not with each other, and especially not with the public. Voters will sometimes try to ask you what you think of the candidates. If so, politely but firmly inform them that as an election judge, you are there to help everyone vote, and you can't discuss your own views.
In this video, we're going to talk about election morning and the key things that you'll need to do. Monday night, you will have worked with your chief judge to set a precinct management plan, and each of you will have specific tasks assigned.
Arrive at 5:45. In some cases, you may not be able to get into the voting room until 6 o'clock, but you only have 1 hour to get everything set up, and you're going to need every minute. Oh, and don't forget to sign in. If you don't sign the election judge payroll sheet, you won't get paid.
Let's start outside. First, put the Vote Here sign where drivers can see it from the main road. Then put up the no electioneering signs. These signs mark the line that campaigns may not cross. Now, depending on your polling place, that could be anywhere between 25 feet to 100 feet from the entrance to the door. In the chief judge's materials, there's a map of the polling place showing exactly where to put the signs. Check periodically throughout the day to make sure that candidates have not moved them, and don't move them yourself. If someone wants to challenge where the signs are placed, they need to call the Board of Elections or its attorney.
Next, place any handicapped parking signs in the locations shown on the chief's map. Most buildings already have handicapped parking, but sometimes the Board of Elections marks additional spaces, especially for van parking.
Other signs that you'll need to put up include a new large blue sign that goes on the accessible door to the polling place. If there is no accessible door marked on your map, then it is the door to the far right of the marked voter entrance.
It is very important to use the voter entrance that is marked on your map, even if you have used a different entrance during previous elections. Do not change the entrance unless you are specifically directed by the Board of Elections or its attorneys. Voters may prefer different entrances to the building, but the one you are using was chosen specifically to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act and other legal requirements. Now, let's go station by station around the room and talk about what needs to happen to get the polls open. On Monday night, you set up the electronic poll books. On Tuesday morning, unplug the hub or disconnect the crossover cable to check one more time that the electronic poll books are closed and there are no voters checked in on any of them. Make sure the date and time on each poll book is correct, and then plug in the hub or connect the poll books and watch for the icons that show they are synchronizing. Don't touch the Open the Polls button until the chief instructs you to do so, at about 10 minutes before the polling place opens.
Make sure each election judge has their own set of voter assistance forms, voter update forms, and a sufficient number of pens, pencils, and cards for voters to write down their name or address after they state it if it is difficult to spell. For checking in provisional voters, you'll need orange privacy sleeves and orange Post-it notes. And make sure you know where the extra rolls of printer paper are stored in case you need them. On Monday night, You set up the provisional ballot table with the orange tablecloth, but you packed up the secure materials overnight. Unpack and make sure you have all the supplies you need, including the provisional ballots and the provisional ballot applications. Now let's set up the ballot table. Unlock the black cart. Make sure you have your ballots and ballot activation cards, your privacy sleeves, your spoiled ballot log, and your spoiled ballot envelope.
Start tearing off and preloading ballots into privacy sleeves. Each electronic poll book can check in about 50 or 60 voters in an hour, so if you have a busy polling place, you may want to preload a pack per poll book. You'll probably get a big rush of voters in the first hour, and you'll want to take your time to carefully remove each ballot along the perforated line and place it in a privacy sleeve before the polls open, so that you don't accidentally spoil ballots while you're in a hurry. Use rubber fingertips to make sure that only one ballot goes in each privacy sleeve. Keep an eye on them at all times. These are live voter ballots. On Monday night, you already set up the voting booths that most voters will use. Now, let's set up the ballot marking device for voters with disabilities. Plug it into the wall. Remove the tamper tape and place it on the back of the ballot marking device integrity report. Open the side compartment. Make sure that the memory stick is present and the mode switch is on voter, not official. Install the keypad and turn the power switch on. After you thread the cord for the keypad through the circular opening and close and lock the side compartment door, you'll apply a new tamper tape and record it on the opening section of the integrity report. Plug in the headphones and make sure you have the instruction sheet ready for your first voter.
Use the step-by-step guide to open the scanner. This can take a while, so make sure you get started by 6:15. Verify the seals again on the outside of the scanner. When you open the lid, you'll find more serial numbers and security seals inside to verify against the scanning unit integrity report. You'll want to record and remove the seals on the front compartments too. Don't remove the side seals though. Those stay on all day.
Do a sweep of the front compartments, including both the main ballot compartment and the smaller emergency ballot compartment, to make sure that there are no ballots or other materials inside. Make sure there is an empty blue plastic bin inside the main compartment ready to accept ballots that drop down from the scanner. You'll need to open the lids so they are resting on the sides inside the main ballot box with the strap handle facing out. Then make sure the metal flap is raised on the emergency ballot compartment and place and record new seals on each compartment.
Once you have lifted the screen and the ballot scanner turns on, verify the public count and the protected count on the scanning unit integrity report. The chief judge will enter the election code and touch accept. While the configuration report is printing, you can verify the precinct information and then touch Open Poll. 2 copies of the 0 report will print.
When the first 2 reports finish printing, hit the Report Options button and select the 0 report option to print a 3rd report. 2 copies go back to the Board of Elections in the red and black bags at the end of the night for review, and the other goes on a window or door at the voter entrance. It's important for the public to be able to verify that there were no votes on the equipment when you opened the polls in the morning.
At the next screen, press Go to Voting Mode and you'll be ready to scan ballots. Affix the white voter authority card envelopes to the side of the scanners so you'll have a good place to put the VACs, the voter authority cards, when you accept them from the voter. Be sure that throughout the day, if you have more than one scanner, you keep the VACs from each scanner separated for a final VAC count for each scanner.
You'll have 2 or 3 scanners. Set them all up unless you're told otherwise by the Board of Elections. If you run into any delays, make sure that at least 1 poll book and 1 scanner are set up and ready to accept ballots at 7 a.m. It can take a while to get ready, so get started as early as you can. Assign one person to read the instructions and 2 people per scanner to perform the steps at the same time on all scanners.
Call the Board of Elections Help Desk at 240-777-8543 and let them know when you're ready to open the polls.
At 6:50, when instructed by the chief, tap the Open the Polls button on each electronic poll book. When the chief judge declares the polling place open at 7 o'clock, you can start following the check-in job guide to check in voters.
When it's time to open the polls, count the number of people waiting in line and write it on the wait time card. Give the card to the last voter in line and tell them to hand it back when they check in. You'll hand out this card every hour on the hour to track wait times on Election Day.
Open the door to the polling place exactly at 7 o'clock. Make sure the accessible entrance is open as well, if it is different than the main voter entrance. If there's an electronic push plate, make sure it's working.
A few last comments on serving voters before we move on to your hands-on training.
Keep in mind that the integrity of the voting process depends on keeping track of who checks in and gets a ballot. When you check in a voter, you are making 2 records of who checked in to vote. One is the electronic record in the poll book, and the other is the paper voter authority card. Both records need to match. The total number of voter authority cards also needs to match the number of paper ballots handed out and the number of ballots cast.
At each step, from checking in a voter to issuing a ballot to collecting their privacy sleeve at the scanner, always initial the voter authority card. That's the audit trail for the Board of Elections to make sure every vote was counted. If something happens so that the numbers won't match, like a voter checks in to vote a regular ballot and you realize they need to vote provisionally, or if a voter leaves the polling place without voting, make sure to alert one of your chief judges right away. Never tap the reissue button on the poll book. And never throw away any unused voter authority card. They have to be canceled properly.
Keep provisional voters away from the main voting area. It's your responsibility to make sure their ballots don't get cast in the scanner. If a voter makes a mistake or wants to change their mind, they can return their ballot and get a new one up to 3 times. Each time, record it on the spoiled ballot log and initial the voter authority card again. Before offering a voter a 3rd ballot, you must offer assistance or the use of the ballot marking device. If anyone does assist a voter in marking their ballot, be sure to fill out a voter assistance form.
You won't have very many of the ballot activation cards that are needed for the marking device. So, don't offer it unless the voter asks or seems clearly in need of assistance. But any voter who wants to use it may do so. Be sure to offer it to any voter who spoils 2 ballots.
Don't touch or look at voted ballots. Voters deserve their privacy. Don't watch as a ballot is being scanned. The scanner will beep or the voter will let you know if there's a problem. If a voter needs a new ballot, direct them to return to the ballot issue table. If a voter wants to waive their privacy and get your help marking their ballot, you'll need to complete a voter assistance form.
If a scanner won't accept a ballot, it's probably because the voter either filled in no ovals at all, or they filled in too many ovals, and it can't tell which candidates they meant to select. Encourage the voter to review their ballot and then decide whether they still want to cast it, or whether they want to go back to the ballot table to get a new ballot.
If a voter seems to be having difficulty understanding you in English, offer them translation assistance. Each polling place has at least one election judge who speaks Spanish, and many have judges who are fluent in other languages. There are also instructions in the chief's material for using the county's language line, which has translators available on Election Day in more than 150 different languages.
Remember, To every voter who walks in that door, you are the face of democracy. Keep smiling and make sure that every voter knows you're there to help. Now your trainers are going to stop this video so you can practice checking in voters and assisting them at the ballot table, at the ballot marking device, and at the scanner.